Welcome to the Investor Agent Podcast. I'm Steve Seymour, your host, where we help transform the human mindset from scarcity and lack to abundance and wealth, one conversation at a time. Hey guys, Steve Seymour with the Investor Agents Podcast. Today we have Luke Medico on. Luke, thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, what's up, teens? I'm here.
Luke came all the way down from the Poconos.
It's true.
To Westchester. So thank you for your time. And as the listeners, thank you for your time. Hopefully we'll share some information. I'll just state the intention of the podcast is to transform the human mindset from scarcity and lack to abundance and wealth, one conversation at a time, by sharing information about real estate investing specifically.
I love it.
So, we want to try to get into some meat and potatoes, but also some philosophy and mindset as well, because I think that's important, and I believe Luke's on the same page with that. So I like to kick it off with just kind of getting some of your backstory, what got you into real estate in the first place.
All right. Well, I would I'm going to start out this podcast like every person ever starts out a podcast. I'm so excited to be here. It's a true honor and a pleasure. And now that we get that out of the way, it's smooth rolling. Let's see. Where do I want to start the journey of real estate? We could start with, there's a point where I got my license, right? And I was thinking about this the other day. There's a point beforehand which helped me lead up to the license. So in 2007, I bought my first house with a dude. His name is Keith Cotton. Keith, you'll never listen to this, but hope you're doing well. So we bought this house in Manayunk. It was a hot market back then. And I bought it off Craigslist, and there was no agent, right? So I learned a little bit about how to do stuff then, and it kind of lit a little bit of a fire under me, but I was a teacher, and I was like, nah, it's cool. I'll teach. Fast forward that to 8 or 9 years later, and I got my license. The reason I got my license, and I tell this story because it kind of fits into a pattern for me, is that when I see a need out there and I feel like, hey, I can do that, or like there's being a disservice being done, maybe I want to be part of it. So I became a teacher because it's a very important thing, right? So went, and I was like, had some really, really great teachers in my life that, affect me to this day. I was like, I'd like to do that for other people. But then I saw a lot of people mailing it in that were teachers. And I was like, I think I could do better.
I'm just going to do this.
Go ahead.
A little bit.
Is better?
A little bit. There you go.
Do I have to? I still have to come down, don't I?
Maybe a hair, but
oh my God,
you're good there.
See, I should have sat in a chair. It is hard.
Keep going.
Keep rocking. Keep rolling. Oh, that sounds better. I sound really good.
Make it a little more sensitive.
Good. I hope nobody edits this at all, and it's just ripped and gripped.
That's fine.
The way I like it. So that was a thing for me, right? And then around 2000, I want to say 14, 15, I ended up buying my first home with my wife. We bought a place in Conshohocken, and I was still teaching. And I dealt with a few real estate agents at the time, and I was like, man, a lot of these guys are really just mailing it in. It's not really like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And Lauren Dickerman, right, she's wonderful. She was her team. We ended up talking with her randomly and stuck with her. And I was like, I like the way they do things. It's really good. I'm like, I think I could do that. And then I just started, got my license from Groupon, by the way. I love to tell people that because it's a true story.
You got your real estate license on Groupon.
Straight up. Okay.
$39?
No. At that time, okay, it was $120. Okay. And just so everybody knows, it's like $155 now, right? Inflation really hasn't hit it too hard. But you can actually go and take your classes.
And that'll get you a license to sell,
that's
assets that might be the most expensive.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The amount of opportunity and wealth that you can create for yourself and other people off of a $150 Groupon class.
I wonder if the Groupon's still out there.
No, it is. It is because anytime somebody reaches out to me
and
says, hey, I'm thinking about getting my license, I say, here's the positives, here's the negatives. If you're going to get started, my suggestion to you, right, and how we're doing things. There's a lot of people that have kids and stuff already. It's like finding a place to go and sit down for a class doesn't really fit in with the schedule. It's like, there's still a thing on Groupon. It works. So I have no shame in that. It was the best $120. You know what I mean? If I ever did the ROI on that, it's not infinity.
Great investment.
Through the moon.
Yeah.
Right. So I did that then, and I eventually I did Oh, man, it was another year and a half of teaching and real estate. I was able to get out of the teaching part basically when my kids came. I had twins right off the bat. My wife tricked me. I didn't know what was going on. Don't even remember the intercourse, when it happened.
Wow.
Okay. But boom, twins.
2.
Yeah, right at once. And it was awesome. And I was like, you know what? I started looking at like a financial thing. Hey, if I keep teaching, I'm going to have to put my kids in daycare. And if I pay the daycare bill and I collect the money from teaching, like what's left over? It was $50. And I was like, well, I could stay home and watch them, see how the real estate thing pans out, and maybe sell a t-shirt or 2 on eBay for the $50. So that was the plan. And then once it got going, I started the career like as a real estate agent, and I was like, this is fantastic. I was really in love with it. At that time, I realized I lived my life in a way in accordance to like how you should as a business person, just like taking care of people, checking in, doing the right thing. It's like, that's good business practice. And I'm like, that's kind of what I did. And before I knew it, I'm like, hey, you know, I didn't do the lame thing like, hey, I'm in real estate now. Do you know anybody who wants to buy, sell, or invest? Like, I never did that. I just would put things out on social media here and there, and eventually like clientele built up, and it was really cool. So I rocked out with that in this area for like 4 or 5 years, eventually moved back up to the Poconos. And in that time, we're going to switch over to the talk about investing, why people should be listening, not about being a real estate agent.
Well, it could be both,
could
right?
Be,
yeah.
Right. Well, give them a little, you know, background on both, I suppose. But after those first 2 or 3 years, and I'm watching what's going on, and I'm like, hey, it seems like the really smart people that are agents, to me, it seems like they're buying stuff. And I'm like, I've always wanted to do that. I was one of those, like, you know, you bought the Robert Kiyosaki book a long time ago. I bought it, never read it, like an asshole.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
That's right.
It's been mentioned a million times.
Right. But it's like, I bought that when I was 22 and didn't read it until I was 33.
Oh, man.
I know, stupid, right?
11 years.
So, hey, if this does anything for anybody, save yourself 11 years. Read it then, because it still applies. It still applies now. So I watched other people basically, you know, building their wealth, and I'm like, was living in this area in Conshohocken, but I'm from a town called Weatherly up in, we'll call it northeastern Pennsylvania, the Poconos. And I was doing both markets. That was my thing. At that time, as an agent, I was like, I need to, you know, basically be a whore. Like, I don't care.
Take whatever comes.
There's an 80. I remember leaving as a teacher at 3:00 from Center City, Philadelphia, driving up to Weatherly to show an $80,000 house to somebody, and then driving back. I didn't care, because I'm like, this market's saturated with people. I have to figure out a way to separate myself. You know, so I did all that stuff. But as I started doing that, I'm like, damn, the house prices up there were significantly lower than down here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, you know, you do the calculations, like cash on cash return, all this stuff. And I'm like, I was like, holy shit. So eventually, I remember this. When I was being a real estate agent, I didn't have any lifestyle creep. So I didn't start buying new cars. I just lived off the teaching salary and kept that money aside. And one day there was like a lump sum of about 80 grand there. And I'm like, you know what? This needs to go somewhere else. Doing some stuff. The first house I bought was a duplex. It was listed for a year. A bank owned. It was 79 grand. And there was a tenant in there. I offered them 40. They didn't say anything. And I think 3 to 4 weeks later, they came back and said, would you do 44? And I said, oh, I don't know. You know, okay. Right. And then that property and that, like, how that went, I went and bought it cash. I bought it cash for more than I would ever make as a teacher in 1 year. And I was like, I was mind blown. It's still mind blowing to me. Side note, teachers just need to get paid more, for sure.
Agreed.
They're awesome. And
yeah.
Especially
if they're going to influence our future with the kids, right?
Yeah, they have a very important job.
Absolutely.
People have been ragging on them for a long time, but like they need to get paid a shit ton more and respected a lot more too, because it's not an easy job. People look at me like, oh, you get to play with kids all day, and then you're off summer. It's like, bro. Yes. So
Go
like,
do it.
On one hand, it's like that, but I'm like, you will expend more energy in the first 2 hours of your day being a teacher than mostly other things. I think manual labor is kind of easier on your body. But I purchased this house, and I got both sides filled, and I started thinking, all right, well, how do I do another one? How do I build? And I went and I was like, oh, go get a home equity loan on this thing. And then I was immediately told, hey, you dummy, you can't get a home equity loan on something that's not your primary residence. I was like, shit. But I'm like, there's got to be a way. Went to a local commercial bank, and they were like, hey, we'll give you a line of $50,000. We won't even do an appraisal. So those things are, and they're out there.
And you paid 44. What's
that? Yeah, I paid 44. So I'm already ahead. And then I just started the leverage game, right? I started leveraging in, bought a property for $14,000, and I think we put in 35, sold it for 125, and I did a lot of the work at that point myself.
Yep,
swinging hammers, and I was burnt out, and I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. That's it. I'm taking a break. I'm not going to do anything for at least 6 months. And 4 weeks later, I bought 3 more properties because the opportunity showed up. So that's where.
Well, and once you saw it work, then it was hard to not see it.
It's hard to deny. And I say this a lot. It's like opportunity and timing don't give a shit about each other at all. So you just have to be prepared. And although I said I wanted a break, I was like,
have you found that time and time again that sometimes these opportunities that pop up, they don't come at the best timing for you?
Typically,
in terms of like your personal life and whatever's going on. It's
dude,
like,
there's never,
and you just have to step into it.
There's never a good time for anything.
Yeah.
You know, people with, when should we get married? When should we have kids? When should we, switch our business to this and whatever? It's like, you can play the game where there's never, ever a perfect time, and then you pull yourself out of the game where it's like, it's easier said than done. And I'm guilty of it too, of like, just straight up take action, rip it and grip it and go for it. I will still play mind games myself, even when I know better.
Yeah.
But there's never a good time.
Yeah, we know it, but we still do it sometimes where we get stuck in that loop.
Yeah. It's probably been a loop our whole life, and it's just a thing. And it's like, how do you break that? Well, you just take a little bit of action.
Yeah. Some of my best opportunities came at really inopportune times.
Right.
And it took a lot of courage just to be like, I asked for this.
Yeah.
I'm getting it. And I'd be foolish if I didn't take it.
It's a weird thing to, that's a whole other level of deep conversation where a lot of the times, like, ask and you shall receive. Like, dude, when you do ask, you do receive it. And sometimes when you receive it, you're like, oh, I'm not ready for this shit.
Yeah, and that's where it ties into the mindset of the abundance.
Yeah.
Because it's usually the fear, whether you call it, I'm calling it scarcity and lack showing up. It's fear showing up as that. And then the abundance mindset, which is basically faith and trusting that it's going to work out and how to overcome that, because we can talk about strategy and tactics, but everyone has that. Like we know you buy a house, you rent it out, you refinance it, and you do it again, right? On some capacity, it's like, there's tons of different strategies, but if you do that over time, you will create wealth.
The process is the same kind of all the time, but there's factors within the process that change. And I will tell anybody that hasn't started investing, like, once you do the first one and you really get involved, you'll understand it. And you're like, oh yeah, this isn't that bad. This is manageable. This is doable. We can do this. But there's the perennial people that have, more knowledge than you and I combined, and they won't do anything because they're stifled by fear. So it really is getting over that hump, whatever it is. And sometimes I don't totally recommend them, but like, dude, sometimes it's finding a partnership or something of that nature, or like piggybacking on somebody like, hey guy, I'm not going to be involved in any of this financially. I just want to like watch what you're doing. And it's like, dude, most cool investors would be like, yeah, as long as you're not wasting my time and interfering, come along for the ride and see what happens. There's plenty of people I think that would do that.
Did you have some mentors, some people around you that helped guide you with that, or at least gave you the confidence, or was it something that, I know you're kind of a, I don't want to say a lone wolf, but you can kind of do it on your own,
right? And
people tend to follow. You're more of a leader. With that said, usually we have someone that we're kind of looking up to along these pathways. So
in the investment space, I really didn't have like the person. I just saw it being done. And one thing I've done in my life, I feel like very well, is I learn from other people's like successes and their mistakes. I do learn from my own mistakes and my own success, but when I see like, I always go back to being a little kid. I was a terrible basketball player in like 5th or 6th grade. And one day I just was like, kids were making fun of me. I was like, you suck. You're so tall and you're terrible. I'm like, I'm going to get fucking good at this. I
beat your ass.
Right. And then like, dude, like what did I do? I just like watched Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Reggie Miller and guys like that. And I'm like, I'm just going to try to like emulate that as much as I can. You know, obviously it didn't get anywhere close to what they were, but like just watching. I don't
think you'd be here.
Right. Like the techniques and like what they were doing and like striving for that. The investment stuff, I mean, I saw a few people do it wrong. And I was like, well, I'm just going to hope I do it right. And whether you're, you know, a real estate agent or investor, any of these sort of bet on yourself jobs, like that's what you're doing. And when push comes to shove, I recommend every single person, bet on yourself. You will win. If you don't win the first time, like you're going to get a learning lesson and you're going to correct everything. So like you'll never lose by betting on yourself. But I didn't have, no one comes to mind in terms of, like, oh, that was my real estate man. I wish, you know, I would have had one. It would have been awesome. And now, you know, another public service announcement for all the millions of listeners out there. There is a multitude of fools in the marketplace right now that will pose as, hey,
a coach.
I know what I'm doing. I'm a coach.
Guru.
I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Listen, if Steve and I right now wanted to go find a Lambo somewhere and put on fancy clothes and stand there and do that sort of bullshit, we certainly could, but it's dumb.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I put that out there because like the younger people our age would get it. Right.
It's almost a red flag if someone's doing that.
Kids, the younger kids though, right? The 20-year-old, like impressionable, whatever, they can be.
You can see that's a marketing gimmick. Not that someone couldn't be successful. They could be doing that.
We can see it, but I'm saying like 9 out of 10 of these clowns are clowns.
Right.
Right. So like just be.
My mentors that are immensely successful, they don't want to be in the spotlight. They don't want you know, it's like,
the more,
you know, if you got a lot of money, you don't necessarily want to be flaunting it out there.
A lot of them you won't even find on social media.
Right.
Anywhere. You know, you'll hear about them like they're you know, it's like an old wives' tale or something. Like, oh yeah, Bob Cratchit down the road, he's got 48 properties and blah blah blah. Is it, you know, who's that guy, right? And it's just like, dude out on his riding lawnmower.
Yeah,
right on. You know, it's like
you're not going to see him selling a course because he doesn't need to sell a course.
Typically not. I haven't. I would love to come across that person. You know, and honestly, there's part of me that wants to be that person one day. There's an allure to it because.
The coaching person or the guy on the tractor?
Both, right? So, but because we don't have that, right? You got the guy on the tractor that wants to be basically left alone and live his life. And that's cool. And I like that. That's awesome. Then you got, and it's not every coach, right? But it's a lot of the people in the coaching business that actually haven't created anything for themselves or for other people.
Right.
And they're out there. What I toy with a lot and what I would eventually, maybe I'll do it. I don't know how, but like, I'm a guy on a tractor, but I want to be that other person to actually help people. Like, yo, here's the track record, here's the knowledge. Yeah. But it's very hard because I can't think of many people in the space that are coming like, hey, I don't need to do this at all. Like, I don't need your money, but I'm going to charge because, you know, people don't value free shit.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
They don't.
Yeah, it's always been attractive to me, but I don't do it.
Yeah, I get that. And I think a lot of that comes from, that's probably why we connect on a higher level. Cause I think, you know, as soon as you do something that you feel is good or is beneficial for your life, you tend to want to share that. That's a human need. Like, like if you go out and it's a really great restaurant, you share that with your friends. You're like, you guys got to try this, or you see a great movie or something like that. And then you get a rental property, and that rental property is now paying for whatever, your car payment or whatever it is.
Like life.
And you're like, oh shit, this is a real opportunity. And then you see people struggling and complaining about their finances. Like, it's a big conversation piece. Most people complain, this is so expensive. Why is everything going up so much? You know, and it's a continual thing we see around us. So we're like, oh, well, this is a pathway out of this pain cycle that you're in.
Yep.
Right. So you want to share that. I think that's where it's coming from. It's not from, you know, you want to be that person in front of the Lambo at all.
No, I don't. I've actually thought about, you know, if I ever did a coaching program, like I would go and find an 87 Cutlass Sierra somewhere because I used to have one of those and it was just a shit car. And I'm like, I would want to do a video in front of that.
Yeah.
Be like, why should you listen to me? Because I'm going to keep it real, right? This is real life stuff. I'm big on real life stuff.
That'll be me driving around in my truck with 140,000 miles on it, right. Telling you what it's really like to go.
Yeah.
I went to one of my Airbnbs yesterday and it's like destroyed inside. I'm like, oh shit, man. It's cigarette smoke, and I'm like, this is what it's really like.
Yeah, it's nonstop.
Yeah,
stuff like I won't deter anybody because there's not a lot of alternatives. Like real estate, you still have control. You still have an actual asset. This is not stock market stuff where it's just numbers on paper. And
it's a high probability of creating wealth over time if you do it.
Big time, big time. But with that, there's downsides. There's downsides, right? I even have a system like set up so people don't have to call me, and we have like online maintenance, and it's actually pretty good. I'm like, this is going great. People still like call at 12 o'clock at night about something random. And I have to remind them the next day, like, hey, that's not okay, and this is how you do it. But it doesn't stop.
Right.
The problems don't stop.
With that, and tying into what you said previously, you've gotten really good at learning people's successes, but also from their mistakes. And since you're someone that I know is just open and willing to share kind of anything, what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced, and then how did you overcome them?
Organization, for sure. Because in the beginning, when you're an investor and you have 2 or 3 properties, right? It's very easy to keep everything financially together on a spreadsheet. Here's one account, whatever.
Right. It could all be in your head at that point.
That's right. And it was. It wasn't written down anywhere. And then I finally got written down, and then there was basically like a 4 to 5 year growth period for me where I started just leveraging more and more. And I did have the mindset of like, operating tuning, timing, don't give a shit about each other. I'm going to keep going and going. And if it's a good opportunity, okay, I'm not organized yet, but let's
figure it out. Figure it out later.
Right. And then
and then you blaze a trail.
And later is now. And it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So and this applies to being like a real estate agent too and an investor, it's like document your own systems, be prepared for the growth before it happens. That would be the biggest thing I can say. Because most people aren't going to step into this and be like, I just want to do a little bit. Most people have a desire in them to just keep, a natural desire is
I'd almost say, in fact, if you're only going to do a little bit of real estate investing, it's probably not worth it. Maybe, it depends on your goals, but like one rental, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Well, usually because of the learning curve, the management,
right.
all
There's
that.
little boxes where it makes sense, like, oh, we had to dump our money somewhere.
Yeah.
And you hear that a lot nowadays, you got to dump our money somewhere. And it's like, well, real estate's a nice place for it. But having everything documented and getting good people in place well before you need them, even before you can potentially afford them. That was one of my pitfalls where I was afraid for a long time.
So how would you suggest someone even know? Because like it's a progression, right? Like, you start with 2 property or 1 property, 2 properties, keep scaling up. And then at some point it's like, wow, my old level of organization doesn't support this. But if someone's starting new, they don't know what that looks like. So what would suggest for them to be proactive in being organized and prepared for growth before it happens? Because there's also that thing that I've seen where a lot of people over prepare for growth that never happens.
That's right.
Because they're so focused on being prepared. So where is that balance? What do you suggest for people looking into that? Because for those highly engineer or analytical brain, they're probably going to have the whole system built out for 1,000 unit scale when they didn't even buy their first property.
I'm going to stick with what I did in terms of don't let opportunity pass you by. Don't necessarily worry about being organized first before you take action. Take action, but know, and it will be different for everybody, that there's going to be a certain bump in the road where you're like, holy shit, I got to backtrack a little bit and get organized, or I got to help, or I got to hire an admin or VA. And it's if you go all in and you're a real estate investor and that's your sole thing, it's maybe a little easier, right? It could be a little easier. If you're an agent and you're running a team, and then you have an investment brand, right? Yeah. You got all the hands, right?
Oh, I know.
Right?
You're speaking you're singing to the choir, I guess, as they would say.
And that's without even factoring in the most important stuff of like your relationships with other people, kids, like that stuff's
balancing life.
Those things are more important than all this shit.
Yeah.
Right. But typically what we do, how our society has been conditioned over the years is like everybody's, you know, we're front running, we're chasing money, we're doing things like that. And that'll go on for a long time until you have your own personal, for lack of a better word, like maybe an awakening, usually it's a pain point, right? Usually like you're in that mode and you're going until something goes very wrong or you feel something really heavy in you and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? You know? And I've had many of those cool, life's going to kick you in the face. So you course correct many times. And when it happens, it sucks. But then when you look back on it, you're like, that was the best thing ever.
You needed it, right?
Oh, you needed it. You 100% needed it. Yep.
Yeah. And tell me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing in this is that this kind of chase for financial freedom, you know, even as you begin to reach, let's just say financial freedom is your passive income exceeds your expenses. Let's just define it as that.
That's what it is.
But that chase for it almost creates another level of prison. And then the continual, you know, I call it the disease of more.
Yeah.
Right.
It is
the
a
disease of more. Like,
yep.
And, you know, what I'm hearing and what you're saying is the wisdom really kicks in and the true freedom comes in when you have these aha moments that, you know, you see it all. And yes, there's this whole monetary system and this trap that we're all in is a societal constraint to live, you know.
It's how it is right now and for the foreseeable future. So we have to play by those rules.
Yeah, we're born into this game.
Until something else, maybe we'll see it in our lifetime. Maybe it'll be a different system. But that, you know, 3D physical world, here it is. That's the game we have to play. So you do have to play that game. There's very few people that have been.
But if you forget you're playing the game,
right, and
then you're a I don't want to say a victim, but a subject to the game. You know.
Yeah.
And the financial freedom illusion is no longer freedom.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm saying what you're saying. I'm saying it in different words, but I'm trying to make sure that I understand what you're saying because that's where my mind goes.
That's the message. It's like there's almost a subconscious addiction to the chase, right? We get to enjoy the journey and embrace it because that's all there really is. Because then when you get to a marker, then there's just another marker. So when I hear people, you know, saying the thing like, "Oh, I was just," you know, I was very close to just getting ahead. I was almost ahead, and often I'll challenge it, not to be a dick, but I'm like, what does that even mean? What does ahead even mean? Because what the majority of us do, let's just say I need $50,000 in the bank, okay, and you get there, you're not stopping. Right. No. It's because
I don't know anyone that has.
Something else comes up and whatever. So there is this sort of like, you know, addiction and pattern kind of can be interchangeable with this. And in the business that we're in, it's commonplace. It's very easy to look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. As an agent, that's all I saw was the run and the chase and the whatever. I was like, I'm going to do that shit.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to sell 50 homes next year. And I was like, and I did. And I know what I felt afterwards. I felt like shit.
The light at the end of the tunnel actually becomes dimmer.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, there wasn't the light. That was was the reflection. You know, it's like.
This is a good story time right now for people, right? I'll tell this story. It's about putting happiness on hold. And this will probably be the most important thing that people could take out of this. When my first 2 or 3 years of being an agent, I put my happiness on hold and I didn't really realize I was doing that. I just did it, right? It was wake up at 5, work all day long. You get home at like 6 or 7. At that point in time, I'd still drink. You know, I was like, I pick up a 6-pack and beer and like, you're just not healthy and you're doing all this stuff. And in my head, I was like, this will all be okay once we move from this house and have our forever home. That was the bullshit game I was playing. So eventually we did that. And forever home's not a real thing, just so people know. Get that out of your head. You'll think you'll have it and you'll move. So we moved back to the Pocono area. And I'm like, all right, this is it. This is great, right? And it was the second day we were there. I woke up, came downstairs, and we had this big great room, right? And I'm like, I'm in a house. I have a garage for the first time in my entire life. I was like 35, had central air for the first time in my entire life. Like, oh, this is great. It's raining outside, great room, 12-foot ceilings.
I bet your friend said you made it.
Yeah, right. Who knows? I don't even know. They probably...
or at least, that's the perception.
Somebody somewhere said I made it. But anyway, I'm there, and I'm sitting in this room, and this room is very... like, there's nothing in there. It's a 12-foot ceilings, great room. Looking outside, it's pouring rain. And, dude, I burst into tears from my toes. Like, it came all the way through me, and I just cried. I scared my twins. They were, I think, 2 or 3 at the time. And I'm crying. I have no clue what's going on. And I sat there with that for a while, and I realized what happened. It's like I put my happiness and my whole life on hold for this one specific thing. And now I get here, and I feel more empty than before, right? So that was one of those times where I got punched in the face by life to realize, hey, you got the wrong mindset. And what you've been seeing out there is not the right thing. Man,
I don't think you're alone in this at all.
No,
I think it's super common.
Yeah, I think more people.
And there's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying.
I'd love to see more people talk about it openly. I know it.
Yeah, I mean, I had the 5,000 square foot house, beach house, car, nice truck, boat, motorcycle, golf cart.
Don't forget abs of steel for anybody listening, right?
Right here. No, but almost picture perfect life from the outside.
Yep.
But because I was striving to get there, and I would literally always tell myself, once I get here, then I'll be fulfilled.
That's right.
And it's the illusion, because comparing from where you are to where other people are, and it looks like they're happier. Yeah. And it's deep programmed in all our media as well.
Yeah, which is trash.
But it's human nature.
Yeah.
So the marketing companies know how to exploit this. Social media knows how to exploit this. They understand what the dopamine hits are and what gets traction on, what people are after when they're scrolling through the feeds. And it's all designed around this. There is a level of true comfort and freedom knowing that your bills are paid with passive income.
Yep.
Right. And that you don't have to work. So there is a real tangible thing. But like you said, when you put your happiness on hold to get to that point in that journey,
don't do it.
You're going to feel a lot of disappointment when you hit these milestones.
You can avoid a lot of heartbreak
and
painful times by not doing that.
And how do you do that? How do you enjoy the journey? How do you maintain the happiness? So
you listen to us right now. Yeah. So the way don't forget that.
All right.
I want to come back to something you said it before, where it's like there's a saying that sticks with me all the time, and it's paradoxical. So on the true level of everything, there's nothing to do and there's nowhere to go, right? Which at first glance is kind of depressing. But if you let it sit more and you're like, there is really nothing to do and nowhere to go, but you can't do nothing and go nowhere, right? So there's this, you have to sit with it for a while, which is going to lead right into this part. And that's how you get the, kind of the happiness and joy. You sit in it, all of it, right? You don't, it's tough, and I still will do things to distract myself from time to time. But every year I seem to cut something else out. Love gambling. I used to be very good at drinking. I used to really enjoy that. I don't do it, don't do it anymore. My main thing is whatever's happening. I wake up sometimes, I feel like shit. I don't know why, but I'm sitting in it. Okay. I think is a natural pattern that I developed in my life, and I feel many people are similar. When weird shit comes up, nobody wants to feel pain. Nobody wants to feel depressed, anxious, whatever, right? We start telling ourselves there's something wrong with us. And we start telling ourselves, because that's what we hear from the outside, right? But the key that I've learned to all of it is to sit in it, and it will 100% pass, and you'll process it and understand it. And I'm in this process now. I just turned 41, and I'm sitting in some, a feeling will come up, or a memory from 6 that still is on a loop, right? I'm going to sit in it. And sometimes, I'll be very truthful, I cry 4 or 5 times a week, and I could care less. I actually love it. It's great. Sometimes I don't know where it comes from. They used to weird me out as a kid. So I just start crying. I don't know what's happening. What's wrong with just let the things process. Let them come out. It's fine. And I think we all kind of try to keep it together for whoever it is, for yourself, for your ego, for your family, for whatever. But I find the real magic is in letting all of that shit go, letting it all go. Remove the judgment from yourself, especially from other people. Stop comparing yourself to other people. No two people are alike anywhere. Everybody's different. And you just sit in it. It's very hard at first. I like to do random Facebook videos, maybe once or twice a month. And the one I came was like, the biggest problem I've ever had in my life is I couldn't sit in a chair by myself for 15 minutes without looking at a phone, listening to music, writing, whatever. And as I learned to do that more, people call it meditating, right? It's same thing. As you learn to do that more, everything changes. I'm talking everything. The problems you had in the past, how you view the future, how you view yourself now, it all changes. It all kind of corrects, if you will. You feel more of yourself. Your body even starts to change. It's amazing. So that would be the thing I would tell anybody, like if you're stressed out with any part of business, just get in a process of sitting. Yeah,
that's huge. I was listening to a podcast, and I'll tie this kind of in. It's not directly, but a lot of CEOs and like really highly successful individuals, what most people don't see is they're sacrificing some other major piece of their life for that immense, to be at the the top 1% of the 1% of the 1%, right? Like the Michael Jordans and whoever it is, Elon Musk, right? Like we only see like the success in one area, but you don't see all the other things that come with that. And what I'm really hearing in this, tell me if it makes sense, and hopefully the listeners kind of got their own spin on it, because I think Luke's speaking from the heart, but we're going to interpret it through our own mind. And my interpretation is that we're constantly resisting what's really happening. So we're like escaping. And a lot of these like immensely successful people are escaping through an outlet to deal with some sort of past pain that hasn't been processed. And, ultimately it leads to just more and more of the same, right? Like more and more of that same feeling. Like once I get here, then I'll be happy. Once I get there, where what you're saying, the real magic happens is when you can be with yourself in the present moment, look at the good, look at the bad, look at reality and accept it for what it is, not trying to compare yourself or change yourself to some external circumstance, but be good with where you're at. Is that pretty...
Dude, learning to love where you're at, no matter where that is, right? I had a lot of patterns of perfectionism in my life where it's like nothing was ever good enough and whatever. And when you're in that, it's like an actual hell, because you feel like nothing's ever good enough, right? And learning to be like, okay, I did the best I could in this today, and let me make some tweaks tomorrow and see what could happen and enjoy that process. Also knowing, we use like a real estate agent thing. No matter who you are, I don't know, picture whoever the best agent is in this, in Pennsylvania, you are not going to get every listing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that might be...
That's pure ego.
Sure.
Right?
But that ego thing, but like if that's where you tie your identity to, I'm the greatest listing agent in Pennsylvania, and I didn't get that list. And that's my identity, right? I hang my hat on that identity, and that goes down. That's a huge blow to the ego. That feels terrible, right? If that happens, the best thing to do would be sit and recognize it, understand what's going. Most of us are like, fuck that, right? Let's grab a beer. Let's do something to get away from this uncomfortable feeling. And like the more comfortable you can get with the uncomfortable feelings, that will never stop. They just become much more tolerable, right? You're always going to be hit with different shit. Like, hey, you and I haven't looked at our phone in a good half hour.
Oh yeah, when we're off this,
we know there's going to be some sort of bullshit there
coming in,
right? So you just,
how do we process it?
You just deal with it, right?
Yeah. And, so it's a practice. It never ends.
That's all it is. It's a practice. It does never end, but it continually gets better and better and better and better and better.
Yeah, and we need reminders. And it's not like when you say it gets better and better and better, that doesn't mean you're not going to dip down.
Oh no,
right?
It's
like
not,
you're gonna take those steps back to move forward. But once you have some level of awareness, you will continue to build on that, especially if you surround yourself with people that are going to help remind you. We all need that. It's hard to do this on your own sometimes, and it's helpful. You kind of have to do it on your own because it's internal, but it's good to have the support system and the reminders in place to bring you back when you're lost in these mental loop patterns of, I got to get more, I got to get more, I got to get, the next thing. Oh, once I achieve this, let's move the finish line out just a little further.
It's the, we'll just say it, like the big dick energy out there. Women have it as well, right? Yeah. And you see it a lot in the real estate industry. It's exhausting, And I think none of these things would exist if everybody was 100% honest with themselves and each other. And I like when that happens. You get a room of people that do that. It just feels much lighter in the room. Everybody's like, I could share this. I don't have to put on all this armor. Nobody's going to hurt me. Yeah. There's a lot of shit that goes into it.
Do you think if people felt like they were enough and they had enough, that desire would almost be gone in a sense? Or, I guess my question's coming from, I've been to so many realtor events, right? And it's like, when you talk about this whole ego thing, I think that was the big turnoff for me. Yeah. And then when I went to investor events, there was still some of that.
It's dissipated.
But there was some people that were real genuine, like, multi-millionaires showing up in dirty clothes with like a beat up car, and they didn't care because that's just who they were, right? Right. And then those guys were like, oh yeah, you could do this. Here, let me help you. Let me do this. And it was like coming from a place of abundance. Yep. And then the other side of that was like the guy in the suit that showed up with the Mercedes Benz talking about all the deals he just did. And, it's almost like you wouldn't be coming from that place had you felt that sense of contentment with where you are. Yeah. And, it's not that there's anything bad or wrong with that. We're all going through our own pathways.
That's right.
It's just, there's a lot of suffering in that. Yeah. And I think that's really what we're getting at. It's like the illusion of that happiness in that lifestyle is such a trap.
It's a huge trap.
And once you're in it, you're feeding it. It's like you're building that muscle. You got to be careful. So it's like staying humble, grateful, right? Without almost being afraid of losing your drive. Because it's like, well, if I maybe I could just be a Buddhist monk and, live in a cave and give it all up. But then you have the fear of like, oh, well, what if I go backwards or,
That's funny you said that. I always bring that up. Like, what am I supposed to, as I started this process of learning more about myself, like I'd come to that point sometime and I would talk to I'm like, what am I supposed to fucking live in a cave? I don't want to live in a cave. Right. And she's like, you're not destined to live in a cave. Everybody has different things. So I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to assimilate with like the different things that we see out there. Like, oh, this guy's doing this, I want to be like that. And really, the more quiet you get, at least my experience, the quieter I get, the more I know, the more answers show up. The more I consume, and I'm not saying consumption is bad in terms of like listening to a podcast, reading a book, whatever, which I love all those things. I do a lot of reading and listening. But lately I've not, because I'm like, this right now in whatever stage of development I'm in is noise. And it's confusing me because I'm hearing someone else's voice. And although they might be extremely intelligent and have a wealth of knowledge to share, it's still not my life. And it's still not exactly what it is. So I think that's maybe a trap sometimes that people fall into. And then the one thing, I want to talk about the Mercedes guy for a second.
Yeah. And I like Mercedes. Nothing wrong with them.
Right.
Maybe I'll have one day, but I don't know.
But the point is, probably like, I always said, and it was the exact car. I said, when I get older, I'm going to get a Mercedes because it's funny to me. Because I shouldn't be driving a Mercedes, right? And then you get to the point where you could buy one, and you're like, no, thank you.
I don't really want it.
But it's not, listen, not everybody that drives a Mercedes and wears a suit is actually full of shit.
No,
and
I agree.
Right, and not everybody that has the like, I don't
want to stereotype.
Yeah, like I'm already a millionaire and, I drive an old beater. Not every one of those is a great person. So it's very important because I early on, like you develop those mindsets where I grew up, right? Like it was just, this person's rich, he's an asshole.
Yeah, we're judging still, right?
Right. And it's like, no, it's constant judgment that's in there. And it's like, no, man, like, listen, I like to use the bar example. You can go into a bar and there could be a dude sitting there that looks like a bum and he's a millionaire and a super nice guy. And then there's a guy in a suit and vice versa. And you don't really know until you connect with somebody on a real level.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're just trying to share is that, we've seen ourselves get into these traps.
Sure.
Right. We're not judging. And I mean, yes, maybe there's some judgment in there, but the intention is that we're sharing this information that, when you think like, oh, once I get here, that I'm going to be super happy, that there's going to be challenges along the way, even to this road of financial freedom. And that when, you're faced with these things, just know you're not alone. I think that's really where we're coming from.
Dude.
And that there's ways to enjoy the journey, create a better life. And, I think for me, a good guide with like filtering information, because like the biggest thing we can like control is what we put in. So like food, water, alcohol, information,
our intake system, control it.
So that's the best thing we can do to control our output and our outcomes. And to me, the best gauge is like feelings, because you can't lie about your feelings. We can definitely tell ourselves lies in our minds, and we do all the time. In fact, most people. Yeah. But you really can't lie about how you feel. No. Right?
You can lie to somebody else about how you feel because you're afraid that they'll judge you.
But not to yourself.
But and that creates a rift within the self. And the more uncomfortable you get and you try to push that at bay, the more often you'll turn to something outside of you to dull that, right? Whether it's alcohol, gambling, booze, dude, whatever. There's a million different things. Food. We do that. It's a common thing, and I think it's not a ton, but like you see people being more open now about it. And I think the more people get open about it, the more like everybody feels this sense of relief. Like imagine you don't even realize you're doing this charade of a life and you see a bunch of people you look up to just like put down their guard and say, I'm fucking happy. I've been doing this, I've been doing that. And then it's like, oh shit. Yeah. I can stop this game, like that's freeing, you know?
The authenticity.
Yeah. Like and that's a buzzword that,
we're not going to be happy all the time. We're human. We're going through this crazy thing called life.
That's authentic, dude. I mean, fuck, there's such a pull for right now anything that's inauthentic. And that AI, I'm telling everybody right now to reject any form of AI. Get rid of it, right? It's going to change a lot of shit. But you have like filters. Do you know what I'm saying? Like even people using, I wish every woman everywhere would never wear makeup ever again. Tell my wife every day, I'm like, you're beautiful. Don't put anything on. It doesn't matter, right? Like, get rid of all that shit. Yeah. Because it's really a mask, and it's not truly authentic. Like, Erica bust my balls when I came, and she's like, oh, I see you dressed up today. I'm like, if I came in here with a suit on, how would you feel? Right. You'd be like, that's not fucking him. That's not what he does. No. I had a suit on 2 weeks ago. It was hell. I felt really uncomfortable.
It's a big reason why I didn't want to go down the traditional real estate path. I mean, it's changed a lot now. It's a lot looser, but back in 2006, I felt like you had to dress up for your clients. I hated it. Yeah. I didn't feel like I had to dress up for my investor clients. And I love that. And that's a really strange way to go, but it's like gauging how you feel. One thing I will say is when I invested in real estate, like there was moments of inspiration and there was like aha moments to like, wow, if I do this again and again, it'll change my life. Yes, maybe you get a big commission check and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I only worked on this deal for 10 hours and I got 10 grand or whatever it is.
It's crazy.
That can happen in real estate sales and that might change your life. For me, I really saw it. And if any listeners see like they're getting pulled into real estate, pay attention to that, right? Like if you're getting, maybe it's like, people talking about it and it's just showing up in your life, there are signs for you to be proactive and seek it out. At least in my opinion, I think that, things show up at the right time. So hopefully if you're listening to this and, some of this resonates with you, you really step into it, because I will say, I'll ask Luke this, but I kind of already know the answer. Do you regret buying all your rental properties?
No, not one. If there's anything that maybe I would have done differently, is maybe some of them that I sold off. Maybe I would have kept them. But I mean, I didn't sell them off and then buy like a boat. I rolled it into another property. So you'll never regret it. And whether it's real estate or anything, call it life. You can call it whatever it is, right? Universe, God, source, whatever you're into, it doesn't matter. It's really all the same thing. There's an energy out there that's not us. And it gives you these nudges, right? And some people are going to be nudged towards real estate. Some people are going to be nudged away from it. Even though it might be terrifying and very hard, follow the nudges.
Yep.
Follow them, because there's something beautiful on the other side. And it might be a little bit painful to get there, but I guarantee if you keep following nudges, whatever's supposed to be for you will be. And it'll be beautiful. And you'll be like, oh, that was really nice. That was worth listening to these guys for however long we've been talking.
Yeah, I just want to tie it in with just like it's the long game. And, just like anything that's worthwhile, it takes time and effort. So, when you get discouraged easily, you need to have some sort of system around you. If you don't have that internal like grit and drive, but by surrounding yourself with people and getting support and educating yourself, and then when you start seeing other people's successes, that will pull you forward. At least for me, it did. Yeah. I know Luke's someone that's always willing to help people and has had immense success up in multiple different markets, but mainly the Pocono markets is your main.
That's where I'm at now.
Yeah,
that's where we live. Mess around down in Philly maybe once or twice a year just for fun, because I love it here. It's great. But yeah, we're hanging out up there. And
I know Luke puts on some masterminds sometimes, puts out some interesting content, some videos, shares a little wisdom. So if you want to follow him and, connect with him offline. Yeah,
I'm around. You can find me, whatever. I don't even use Instagram too much, but I have a Facebook page, and, dude, mostly whether it's masterminds, whether it's helping people, doing random videos that might connect with like 5 people and everybody's like, what the hell is this guy talking about? The bottom line is what I do is I'm speaking to myself as a 16-year-old boy. I'm speaking to myself as a 20-year-old man, whatever. I'm just talking to myself at different points in my life, and I'm saying what I wish somebody would have said to me at that point in time. So it's what we do at the masterminds. It's what I float out there online. So like sometimes it lands for people, sometimes it doesn't. But what I follow is like, if I could be, I try to be the person who I needed the most at different times in my life, because I know there's going to be people out there that need that, right? And that's helpful. And it also helps, right? In this whole kind of ties this all together. That's good, but it also helps that part of me heal from when I didn't have something that I needed, So it's like that process for me is just like a big win-win. And
it kind of goes full circle, right? Because and when you mentioned at the beginning and you're in the teaching space, right? And how, you could have one teacher or mentor or person that says, it could be just a conversation, right? It could be a pat on the back. It could be encouragement, or it could be information, just, knowledge, that literally changes the entire trajectory of your life. Yeah. Right. And for you to be able to come on here and share your wisdom in real estate investing and your philosophy on your mindset, and, staying happy and enjoying the moment along the way, staying present, spending some time alone, reflection, you dropped a lot of really important pieces in there.
I don't think we talked about real estate all that much, but it's, real estate's not the problem. It never is. It's what's inside that gets in the way. Once you start cleaning that shit up, it's just, just gets much brighter and easier.
Well, and that's why, I stated the intention at the beginning, because it's really to transform the human mindset from scarcity and lack to abundance and wealth. So whether it's real estate or something else, we just want you to live in that abundant state more often.
It's good for everybody.
It is. Right? We can achieve a lot more as humanity when we feel like there's an abundance versus when there's not enough.
When we come from that scarcity, like, hey, we got to save everything, there's not enough, like that really is a trick. And I'm not telling you right now that I'm completely past that. It still shows up for me.
Absolutely.
But it is a trick. There's just like competition in general doesn't exist, only in the mind. Like you compete against yourself, but what somebody else is doing doesn't matter. That's an important thing to remember.
Yep. Any last closing words of wisdom, or any books, courses, things that you can, recommend for the listeners?
I wish I would have prepared a list of things.
That's okay.
But some different things that I'll tell you what, and this one, there's Andy Frischella. Have you heard of him? He's did this thing called the MFCEO project back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
He does a podcast, and some people might curse, fuck this, fuck that,
right.
hardcore, whatever. I listen to him pretty often, and I don't necessarily want to listen to the political parts of it so much.
Right.
But I'm telling you this, the dude is sharing an abundance of information that other people would charge, whatever they wanted for, and it's just free. And my personal feeling is that dude honestly he understands his ego, and despite that, he tries to help people as much as he possibly can. That one's a little bit more edgy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if you will, but
it's real. Usually edgy stuff's,
yeah, it is. But then that's why I like it, because it's really not polished at all. He just comes on there being who he is, and I respect that. I gravitate to that. I'm like, that dude is as real as it gets, with
and sharing real content is
real
valuable.
content. And book wise, I spoke about some things I learned through this book, but there's a gentleman named Ram Dass, right?
Yep.
Be Here Now. And anything that he's ever put together, that's another person that I feel you can turn to. Don't make these guys a god, right? Because everyone has their flaws, but you can turn to the things that he was saying. And both Andy and him, I believe, were saying things as close to as true as it possibly can be, right? This is not necessarily my opinion. This is just how it is.
Yeah.
Right. And once you accept, right? We said it before, it's like accepting or loving what is, then everything changes. You're like, that fucking sucked. I get, rear-ended by a car, but I can't change it. I'm okay. Let me count my blessings now and know that tomorrow, things will be cool again. Something good's going to come my way.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, I think the big thing my big takeaway is you're a truth seeker, right? You're seeking truth. And I acknowledge that because it's pretty cool. And I resonate with that a lot. There's a lot of false information out there. And, there's different levels of truths, but, it's like unpeeling the onion, and you have to gauge what works for you. So thank you for sharing your truths and your knowledge and experience. I hope you guys found some value in this, and, please reach out to Luke if you need any help. He's got the Poconos covered for you. Good hands.
It's the first time I looked at the camera.
I'm not sure.
Thumb up.
Not sure. You're still out there selling houses too, right?
Yeah. No, we have, we have an awesome.
You have a team.
Our boy Rob Bryan, he's out there doing great stuff. Jackie Fantasia, and if you ever run across her, please just call her Fantasia, and I'll tell you why at a later date. And then we got our Jordan Kurtz helping with places, finding that team, dude, finding the right people, literally, absolutely life changing.
Yep.
That's the second thing.
And I'll say probably attracting them, not just finding them, right? You probably, you have probably the person you became.
You have to change yourself.
And the right timing.
Right. You got to change yourself so people want to be, you can go after it all the time, but you can't attract. That's a whole, attraction. That's a whole other hour.
Cool. So. We're not going to take up any more of your headspace.
No, my calves are hurting standing too much.
Don't resist reality. Spend some time alone.
Yep.
Enjoy the journey. Buy real estate. Enjoy the ride.
I accept your terms and conditions. That was great.
Deal.
Cool.
Thanks, Luke.
You got it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Investor Agent Podcast today. We hope you found it valuable. Please tune in weekly at theinvestoragents.com.